Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Today is March the 19th. It is now 2:32, and I apologize for the rushed subcommittee meeting. However, as all of you know, this is crossover, and if things don't get done now, they will not get done. And again, I apologize for the rush. We have two bills on the calendar for today. One is HB 140, of which we have had significant discussions previously. I have made also massive altercations to this bill in order to get it through the system. We also have HB 720. We will start with HB 720. Matthew, if you could give us some brief description on HB 720. I may also add that there was a meeting on Monday where all the stakeholders came together on Monday, and we made an agreement upon the amendments that you will be looking at now. Matthew, if you could give us an overview on HB 720, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. So this is the bill, if the members would recall, that deals with what happens in the event a contingency occurs in a sale contract and trust money has to be distributed. In this instance, the amendments would clarify what constitutes the contingencies that are covered by this new section of law to only be those instances where a purchaser would be required to receive a certain notice. And if that notice wasn't provided, then they could remove themselves from the contract.
Thank you, Matthew. And I would like to call upon the stakeholders now so that the rest of the subcommittee understands that we did have a meeting, and what we have before us is an agreement amongst the stakeholders. Bill?
Well, can I say that I represent the Maryland Land Title Association? They are not comfortable with the compromise. So it's an agreement amongst the Maryland Realtors Association are comfortable, but the Maryland Land Title Association is not there. So it's not an agreement amongst all stakeholders that were involved in that phone call on Monday. So
I thought that the amendments that we have before us now was the amendments that were agreed upon from that meeting.
No, we came to a decision on what we thought could work, and the MRA sent us information of which we thought was too vague and could cause problems. And so the Maryland Land Title Association is still not comfortable with what was offered.
HB 720, we're going to hold that bill. Matthew, if you go to HB 140, please. Sir.
Okay. So HB 140, I've sent out two amendments. I think that probably makes the most sense to take up HB 140 473 927-1 first. I'm going to share my screen in case anybody has any questions about it. And I have to find it. It is, here we go. Here's the reprint. So what this amendment would do is amendment offered by, can everybody see the PDF document?
Yes, we can see it. We can see it.
Okay, good. And I'll scroll anywhere that anybody needs. But generally what the amendment does, it was an amendment offered by Delegate Weibel. It would maintain the 1 meeting per year requirement for condos and HOAs after transition to unit or lot owner control. Now, this meeting would still require that the lot owners have the opportunity to provide comment on matters relating to the condominium or HOA as altered by the bill as drafted. And then prior to transition to unit or lot owner control, the developer or the board or the declarant or the board, if you're talking about an HOA, would have to hold 2 meetings per year that are open to any matter and at which the unit or lot owners could provide comments. So that 2 meeting per year requirement would apply before transition, and then it would go back to the existing law of 1 meeting per year, 1 general meeting per year after transition.
All right. Go to the next amendment, if you don't mind, Matthew.
Do we ask questions?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, Delegate Trosson.
I guess just to start with, why are we doing that?
Because the comments that we have received is that we're having a tremendous difficulty in getting lot owners and unit owners to participate in the one meeting. Now we're going to require two. We're concerned about having quorum. If we can't get one meeting now, we're concerned about having quorum. Those are the comments that I received from citizens from across the state in terms of the 2 meeting requirement.
So, okay, didn't we pass it last year with 2?
Yes, so in the prior year, it was passed with 2.
That is correct.
There was still testimony on just the difficulty of the 2 in this year.
And that's the reason why I took it back to 1, because I continued to get testimony about the difficulty in meeting even the 1. And if you can't meet the 1 and you can't get a quorum, how can you then get 2?
Okay, and then when does this start that you only get 1?
After go ahead, Matthew.
The 1 meeting per year condition is current law. So it's after transition to unit or lot owner control of the condominium or HOA respectively. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, I see a question from Delegate Weibel, then we go to Delegate Ciliberti.
Well, I put my hand out. I was just going to respond as well. There are a lot of associations that are, matters are pretty settled. And some of the smaller ones where, it's just, there's really no legitimate reason for having 2 meetings per year, and they can get all their work done in 1. So I do appreciate, Mr. Chairman, you working with everyone to come to a compromise.
I always like to agree with my delegates from West Virginia. Delegate Ciliberti, any questions?
No, very quickly, the operative phrase in there is at least 1 meeting per year. Game over.
Correct.
Yes, there can always be more.
Yeah, there can always be more, right. Delegate Parrish.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to clarify for everyone, this bill did pass last year in the House, but it failed in the Senate. So that's why we're coming back this year again.
100% correct.
Is that the only difference?
Oh, no, this is only one amendment.
This is 1 amendment. There are 2.
And that's why I'm talking very rapidly. I apologize.
Okay.
I move to pass this amendment we just did.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of this particular amendment, signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed say no. The amendment carries. The next amendment, please, Matthew.
Yes, so the next amendment is HB 140-403-421-1. This amendment, there are 3 amendments here. The first is technical and is required to implement the provisions of the second amendment. The second amendment would strike the provisions of the bill related to the requirement to add an unaffiliated member to the board of directors of a condominium or HOA after 25% of the units or lots have been conveyed, or if a board hadn't been established, to both establish a board and to add an unaffiliated member.
Scroll down to that portion, Matthew.
Yes, so the first instance of that would be on page 5. I apologize for the scrolling. I know it's distracting. Basically from lines 18 through 34, and the next instance would be on page 11, starting at line 1 and going down through line 20 inclusive.
Can you say again what that does? Because I was trying to print it out so I could follow you because you didn't.
I'm sorry, a little bit louder there, Delegate Trosser.
Can you say that again?
Yes.
I was trying to print it out because I couldn't follow because it wasn't on the screen. So where are you?
Okay, I'm on this right here is page 5, line 18 through 34. And the amendment number is HB 140-403-421-1.
Okay.
And to repeat what the amendment does, it would strike provisions of the bill related to the requirement to add an unaffiliated member of the board of directors to a condominium or HOA once 25% of the units or lots have been sold, or if a board hadn't been created, to first create a board and then add one unaffiliated member.
Just really quickly, Mary Lehman is trying to get in. I don't know if she's made it in.
All right, yeah, just a
I
question.
just let her into the call.
Okay.
Yeah, just a
I'm
question.
here. Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.
I don't understand. What did this do before and what does it not do now? Like, just explain what it did before. It added an
Okay.
unaffiliated, like, what does that mean? Unaffiliated.
So at this point in the process, the condominium or HOA is largely controlled by the developer or
Right.
declarant, respectfully. So once 25% of the units or lots, depending on what we're talking about, have been conveyed to members of the public, this would have added one unaffiliated member to the board of directors. Or if a
When
board
you
of
say-
directors
wait, before you go past that, can you say unaffiliated? You mean
with
not
the developer or
developer.
declarant,
So this is
somebody,
a lot
Right.
owner.
Yes,
yes, it
Continue.
would probably be a unit or a lot owner.
Yeah.
I mean, almost certainly be a unit or a lot.
Right.
owner.
correct.
You say that.
Okay, well, I think that's important to do.
Yeah, I think it is also, and I'm going to put that in a bill next year. I can't get this out. With this language in here, I cannot get it out of the Senate. I'm just being point blank with you. I got, if this language in there, I cannot get it out of the Senate. So I either have to amend it or kill the whole bill.
What does the bill do with these amendments after all that's done? What does it actually do?
If I could add one more thing, there's an additional provision in the existing language that talks about control at 75%. Matthew, explain that a little bit, if you don't. Because
Yes, I'm gonna just scroll down again a little bit. So I'm having some difficulty finding it. I think I'd have to scroll up to page. My apologies. I'm scrolling down to page 11. Sorry for the distraction, because I think it's easiest to see there. So
there you go, right there, right there.
right here, where this is when a meeting of the members of the homeowners association would be established to elect a governing body of the homeowners association, and that's held 60 days from the date that at least 75% of the total number of lots that may be part of the development after all phases are complete are sold to members of the public for residential purposes. So it's another, I mean, this is the language that Delegate Holmes was referring to.
So in order to expand upon that explanation, Delegate Trassa, right here on line 23, it already talks about the 75%, which is a different way of saying when I was the 25% earlier. And because of the 25% language, if I leave that 25% language in there, I can't get this out. But it already specifies the 75% here in 23, lines 23 to 25. Delegate Trassa.
Okay, so I guess my question, well, first of all, did the Senate vote this down or they just didn't get to it?
It didn't come out.
Okay, and then the second thing is, what I guess I'll respect where you are in it, but like, I guess I don't understand why they can't just amend it. Why the Senate can't just amend it. if
I got
they
no
don't like-
control over that.
You just don't think they'll take it out of, get it out of committee if we don't?
That is correct.
Okay, but I don't understand. This says 60 days from the date that at least 75%. That's like 50% later. Or not 50% later, but like one is at 25% and one is at 75%, and that's the current law.
That's the current law, correct.
So we're not changing that piece.
That is correct.
Now, that 75% trigger deals with a totally separate issue than the language that was in the bill as drafted. 25% at that point is doing something completely different. That honestly probably shouldn't even be talking about the 75% language right now. I think it's confusing the issues in the bill as drafted.
Lisa
Okay.
Jones. I'm sorry, are you finished, Delegate Trassa?
That's fine.
So did you say, I wasn't sure if did you say
Yeah.
Lisa Jones?
Go ahead.
On behalf of CAI, so the amendments that I have in front of me that were sent to me, and it says builder's amendment dealing with the 25%. What I have a problem with is that we spent hours upon hours last year, meetings upon meetings last year to negotiate this bill to a point where not only did the CAI, the interest that you were representing, Delegate Holmes and others, agreed to a compromise bill that was amended, passed out of the House, went to the Senate. The Senate did not It wasn't that the Senate said, I'm not going to vote this bill. The Senate never got to the bill and never got to the details of the bill to say that I'm not going to pass this bill based on X, Y, Z. And this amendment right here, where the builders were a part of those negotiations to a compromise bill that was negotiated, passed out, and then reintroduced and with the same terms that we're looking at right now. And now they want to come in and play this game of which is interesting. And I'm going to act like I'm a delegate, not name a lobbyist name where you're not supposed to name a legislator's name, taught me that once you negotiate, you should never, ever, it's bad form and it's not right, acceptable to now come in and say, oh.
I appreciate your discussion.
And-
We have a full committee meeting
but
at
let me be-
2:45. Don't we have a full committee meeting at 2:45?
Yeah, but Delegate Holmes, what's unfair is that we're on a crossover Saturday where my client can't be on this, in this meeting to share all of the concerns that they have with this amendment. So good for them that they gave it to you late, but this is the stakeholders.
Ms. Harris-Jones, I do appreciate it. I understand. Matthew, do we have a full committee meeting at 2:45? Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, it's pushed back slightly to 3 o'clock.
All right, okay. All right. Any additional discussion? Delegate Weibel.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm sure it's not a perfect bill, but I appreciate all the work that you've put into it. I'd like to move the amendments and the bill.
There's one more amendment to discuss, which I never got
Let's
to.
do this one first, if we can.
But
It's part of this set of amendments.
Go ahead, Matthew.
Okay. And the last amendment here would strike certain language relating to a bondholder, specifically under the bill as drafted. I'm going to stop sharing the screen while I scroll to one example of it. But the first example I can find is on page 6 in line 25. Okay, let me just. Certain information is required to be provided within a certain number of days after a transitional meeting with regard to a bondholder, and that's the name, the address, and phone number of the governmental unit that serves as the bondholder. This amendment would strike the address and phone number language and just require that the name be provided to a unit owner or a lot owner.
So that the board will still understand what entity has the bond. We just struck the address and the phone number. Delegate Weibel. Delegate Weibel? Go ahead.
Good. I'm sorry, my hand was up from the last time.
Delegate Terrassa.
Okay, well, we talked about this before, like they need contact information. Like, I don't know if it needs to say address and phone number, but it should say at least name and contact information.
The name and the governmental unit is there. If the name is
But why are we not saying contact? I mean, like, I don't understand why we're taking out address and phone number. Like, why not take out?
what
why not
happens?
change- Can we
what
change
happens-
that to contact information?
What happens if for example, the government unit moves down the street, they change the address? What happens then?
We'll just put contact information.
Let's-
I mean, it could be an email address. Like, that's what most government officials use.
That's
Hey, Bob, hang on.
okay.
You finished, Delegate Trosser?
Yeah, I mean, we have contact information all the time on government signs and government notices all the time, like constantly. And like they fought this issue tooth and nail, and I thought this was where we ended up. I don't understand why we're taking out the contact information. Just makes it so much harder for the residents.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's 2:51. HB 140 is on hold. That concludes the meeting for today. You all have a good afternoon, and I'll see you on full committee. Thank you very much.